Hello everybody and welcome to another tutorial in camera lens repair. Um, well, this lens I already have cleaned for some fungus and it turns out to be really good. Now it's time to get the focus to be a lot better than it is at the moment. Well, it's about the Leica-M Summicron aperture 2 and a 35mm for the Leica-M. And as I discovered when I was in the lens at first, I think, okay, the focus looked like a garbage and it's quite stiff. It is. I can see here on the back the grease is really dried out completely and it makes things a lot more stiff. But also the internal helicoid, which we come into later, it will not be that hard. But as I make some notes about how this is all measured without the lens aperture assembly in, so I only have the naked focus assembly in place. So there is not any adjustment in here because I set small marks. I set some small marks in here because it makes sense, because there is no repair manual on the internet about this particular lens. Well, there might be, but who knows where. So I make my own notes and yeah, let's dig into it. I will begin with the, since I have to take out the whole lens assembly, out with that. I need a tool. It could be whatever, lens tool, compass tool, whatever. But we just need to take out this retaining ring here, the outer retaining ring, not the lens retaining ring, but the outer lens retaining ring, that hold the lens assembly in place. Okay, good. Off with that. And that should be that. Now, out with that. Nothing special, since I have been into it before. Now, what happened here is actually, I really tried to figure out, okay, how did they put this helicoid system together? And so I begin with setting marks. Set the focus to infinity. That's our starting point in whatsoever. On the back here, I set a mark here, down here, the back of the back helicoid, and it should be in line with the infinity mark or index mark here. And I also set a mark down here on the, well, let's say the front helicoid system. So I set a mark in here. It's also in line with the other one. That's important. Now, on the front here, I set a mark on the, remember, there is no service manual for this lens, so how would you determine where things should sit when it's correct? Yeah, so set a small mark up here on the inside of the, well, the front helicoid, but also on this, well, I think it's part of, yeah, no, it's part of the focusing, the outer helicoid, front helicoid. And I wrote a little infinity mark here, so those two marks are in line with the index mark here. And one can also set a, it shouldn't be necessary, as long as you have the infinity mark here in the middle. So it should be all fine. There is a set screw, a little tiny set screw here on the front. This comes out, and well, it could be a good idea to actually set a mark here, because this ring actually holds the focus ring itself, the outer, the ring you touch and move. So it's good to have something in reference here. I didn't do it earlier because I was thinking, okay, I have a mark over here somewhere, that could be fine, but it's actually a good idea to have it in line here, because this ring has to sit correct, because the set screw in here will go deeper into the actual focusing ring. Now, with a 1.2 millimeter flathead screwdriver, you can see here, nothing special, just a screwdriver, and just unscrew it fully, and you can see it's a little longer. There's a little part without thread, and it goes into the actual focusing ring itself. So keep that in mind. Now, then I can, with a homemade tool like this, or I could also use this. It's just a tube that has the diameter, it will say 39 millimeter, and I have made two small pins that actually fit into those notch or groove on this locking retaining ring, and it sits really extremely tight. Keep also in mind that this hole here, which is the screw hole for the tiny set screw I just pull out, it has to sit correct, because if not, you cannot put in the little set screw here. And if so, it would probably stick out a little, which is not good, because then you cannot mount the lens assembly in here, and it will get stuck in here when you screw the retaining ring here on the back. So you cannot turn the actual aperture ring. Just keep that in mind. Yeah, okay, so we need to do something. Unscrew this ring, and I can tell it sits extremely hard. Even if I have been into the lens, because you cannot actually assemble it incorrect. Well, at least this part here. So out with that. So there. And now we see a lot of gunk and dirt in here. See, this hole over here is actually the hole where the locking screw goes through, and it ends up in here. So you can see it's smaller than the diameter here. So that's important. So now there is a spring in here that keeps the lock button here in place. Wow, it's extremely sticky, so it's all gunky grease that is in here. It can also only sit in one place when it's locked. So there is a notch here. So when we put in the focus ring, it has to sit like this. Not on the thread, but if you press it a little, it will come on, and then you can put it onto here. So it is. So this is how it will actually work. But of course, there's no connection to the actual outer helicoid here. So off with that. And then we can take off the index ring here. Sits with 3 screws. It shouldn't be a problem. The screws are steel, so it's good with a magnetized screwdriver. So there. But as long as I went into the actual helicoid system, it is more logical how it is assembled. Now, it's good to set a mark somewhere here. Well, I should have done it before, but as long as this screw is set where the index mark is. Now, it's a good thing here to just set a small mark down here in line with the index mark. So, and yeah, that's it. Actually, off with that ring. It's even more dirty in here. And now we're looking into more of the helicoid system. There is a back ring here, which sits in place with this tiny set screw. And it's also that kind of screw that, I mean, almost like the one that sits over here that hold the focusing ring in place. But again, I use a 1.2mm flathead screwdriver to unscrew this. If there is any thread lock, or you think, okay, it's too tight, well, the combination of isopropyl and a cotton bud, you could use a little on the screw here and soften the whatsoever there was a thread lock in here. But it's not the case here, but just if you think the set screw is a bit tight. If it's tight, don't force it to be unscrewed, because you cannot, I mean, you can probably damage it. So out with that. And before I take it apart, it's just good to have a mark up here. You might think, why all those scratches in there? Well, it's your only reference. Because if you do not have the service manual, what to do then? There's no one to ask. So it's a good thing. I mean, this is the index mark screw. So set a small mark down here in line with the all the other marks at infinity and the index, just to make sure it's correct. So unscrew this tiny screw. It's also a special screw, so you can see here there's a little one. So, oh, come on. So now I was thinking, okay, how the hell does this ring comes off? Until I found out, okay, it's not part of the helicoid system here. I thought it first, but it's just a, what do you say, the mount. It's just a mount. This has no connection at all with the helicoid system. So in that way we can unscrew it. And with the help from those amazing rubber cones, well, it's amazing. It's just amazing tool. If you don't have them, well, you should probably thinking buying those. Now here, the back here, I will just put in the rubber cone number 6 here. See? And in that way I can, since the focus is set to, right now it's set to near end. You use number, well, it's not, yeah, now I remember. Probably better do this here. And, well, it's second time I'm in that lens. We can probably do this. Now I use number 5 on the mount here and number 6 on the front. Maybe it should be opposite. I don't know. It doesn't matter. And if, again, if the ring is too tight, you could again use some isopropyl alcohol and simply add a lot of thread lock here. Now, unscrew it should be, it can sit tight, but it isn't that tight. So unscrew this and it's not a problem. Looks fine. It has, well, you should actually use some thread lock, not here on the front, but more on the back here, because this thread here is actually screwed into not the helicoid but this part here. So off with that, and now we have the naked helicoid system, and now we can take measure, and that is important, very important. But I already done that, but we can just go through it. It's not that hard. The whole focus assembly at infinity, it will say all the way to, so the very back here is stick out as much as possible and the front here is flush. So I'll just take a note here. Well, should be something like that. It should be something like 22 point, well, it was because I have this ring on, of course, I just forget. So if this is on here, it should be something like that. And I just forgot it. There was so many things to think of, but as long as it is. But of course you could, it could be different in your lens. But you could of course also just measure the very front here to the very back. It would also be a solution. It would be 22 point, well, something like 34, 35 or so. So now I have set a, yeah, I set all the mark here, but I also make a scratch here, which is infinity mark here. So that's clear. Now I can, well, I can actually, by unscrewing this retaining ring here, you see there is a retaining ring around here, and there are two notches, one here and one here. and it should also sit correct. So making a scratch up here in line with another scratch here. Yeah, I know it can be difficult, but now I can unscrew this ring, and I found out, since it's screwed into this ring here, you could use some isopropyl alcohol here on here, so to soften the thread lock. But maybe this one, no, it's not useful in this case. But my homemade tool, this is also a compass which I have bent with some heat and make 2 pins here, and it works pretty good, not only in this case, but because I can come into the 2 notch and have a much better grip. Now, the thing is, when I unscrew this ring, I can take the front out and the back I can unscrew. So in that way I separate the 2 helicoid, the front helicoid and the back helicoid system. So get a good grip on the actual the back here. Was it that? Yeah. It's extremely tight. So I better do it. Well, I probably did it with the helicoid on. I mean the mount on here. It should be better, but let's just try it here. So in this case here, oh, whew, tight. Well, I'll just put this ring on again because it's way too tight, because the cone here cannot get the correct grip. So I'll just put it on again, and that was not the case here. But I can tighten it. Not this one here. It's good to have different tools. So the little set screw hole here has to be tightened good to make the set screw sit correct. Now I will just put this tiny set screw into place, and then I will be able to have a much better grip on this. So now sits good, and then I can, with this one, number 5, put it on here, and then have a much better grip. And with my homemade tool here, oh, it's here, hopefully get it off. Sits really tight. So in that way I can unscrew it. So now this ring can come out, and it's so dirty that it's amazing it can actually work, as you can see here. Now I will then get off the this shiny ring, the mount, but keep in mind now that the front here and the back is actually loose, as you can see here. So I will just unscrew this again, so I can clean the whole focus assembly. Sometimes it's not that easy, but we will make it. So it's good, flexible. Okay, that's all fine, as long as I can get it free. No. So the mount is off, and then I have the naked more than it was, the naked helicoid system. But it's a thing, you can still turn it and it works. And nothing has come out of place or you need to adjust and all that stuff. But now we need to take it apart. You see, there is a helicoid key in here. You probably can see it here. That's a helicoid key. It's the only one. You can also see it here from outside. So what I'm going to do, I will just take it apart. Remember, set to infinity as long as you can, and then pull it apart. So this is how it looks. Wow, it's really dirty. You see, the point is that the front helicoid system, it has a helicoid that can move the focusing ring itself, and in that way move the inner helicoid where the lens assembly is put into place, and in that way can move in and out. Now, on the other hand, the back lens, the back helicoid also can only move in and out. Wow, it's quite stiff. Now, since I set a mark here on the back here of the back helicoid, I also need, before I take it apart, to set a mark here on the the outer helicoid of the back, just so I know the two tubes here, the two helicoids, is sitting correct. But of course I can also measure, which I also already have done. And since the the helicoid is set into place, I can measure the back focus helicoid at infinity. You can see it here. It should be something like, if we measure here, 13.79. That's correct. Wow. On the other hand, the front helicoid, it has to be flush with the front here. So when you take it apart and you put it back in again and it sticks out like this, you're wrong. It has to be flush, and of course my two marks here sit in line. I know exact position of where they should sit. That's important, no matter what. So now I can actually take the whole system apart, clean it, and then re-lubed with LIQUI-MOLY LM47, which I think it's a really good grease. It took some years before it separates, so I would think it's the best option at the moment. I will make a video later on where I show how long or how short it will take for some new lens grease, helicoid grease, it will take before they separate. You will be surprised. I will too. Now, then it's time to clean the stuff. See you sooner. Yep. Sorry, I forgot something. Nah. Well, things happen. Well, you see the back helicoid here has its mark here and here. But I have to unscrew it, of course. I just forgot. And it has to be turned a bit over half a turn till off. So it will say my mark is here. So I turn it half a turn until it comes all the way over to, where did it go? Something like, well, we just start over. So my mark is here, the pin is down here. So if I turn it, mark there, down there. So turn it half a turn, and it should be there. Boom. When it comes off, you make a scratch here when it comes off. That's important because that's my point where the helicoid is actually have to go in when it's correct. If you take the next thread, well, you will probably be not be you will not be able to use the the focus system anyway. So that's off. On the front, it's a bit well, it has to stay flush here on the front. My index mark is up here. My other mark is here on the inner helicoid, and I have to turn it almost 1.5 turn. So if it will come off around 4 o'clock, it will say we have starting point here, 1.5 turn until over here, kind of. I set a little arrow here where it came off. So I unscrew it clockwise, so I get a full turn. That's 1 turn. And when it comes off over here, around here, be aware of it. It can be a little difficult to get on again, and you can see how loose it is. Now it's off. Wow, old gunky. I can see they have used something like MoS2 grease or so, and it looks really not good. And it can be a little problem when putting back the actual helicoid. It can be a little challenge. Well, I will not do it now, but it can be a little tricky. So set an arrow where it came off. That's important, just so you know. So now I will clean it. Yes, see you sooner. Okay, so I will continue with the with re-greasing the helicoids in here, and I will do it with the LIQUI-MOLY LM47 because the helicoids in here is, well, let's say it's is used, so there shouldn't be any problem with that. And yeah, I will just continue with this, and this is just a fine makeup brush from somewhere stores, and I think the LM47 is quite good in this example. I don't know how it will be, but we'll see. So and I think just a small amount will do the trick. It doesn't have to be a lot. It's just a film, a thin film with the grease. So let's hope it will do the work. But it has to go into the thread, so it will be spread around. So I think it will be fine for now. And then I had, in the very beginning, you maybe remember, there was an off mark where the back helicoid came off. And since I also set a mark here, you probably can see it here, this one. Those two parts will just go together here. The helicoid can be a little tricky, so have some patience. It will do the trick. Let's see. Feels okay. It's not stiff. I mean, I can move it. But, I mean, how it will be when it's fine, when it's all assembled. You see, from this mark here, I have with the back helicoid, it will be at infinity it was 13.79 or so, and I have to go a bit over half a turn till off. But now I put it on my off mark here, and then I have my mark here. I have to go half a turn up to where my infinity mark is up here, since I set that in the very beginning. So now it's all in place for the back helicoid, and I can do the same for the front helicoid. You will see those two, and I will also give it a little grease, and it's also a bit used in a way. Of course, that's an old lens, so what do you expect? And you see it doesn't have to be a lot of grease on this. It will be, so here it's just a thin film. It doesn't have to be spread all over the place. And since I also in the very beginning set an off mark, which will be over here, there is a small arrow which I set, and I also set a little mark here on the front helicoid, so those two go together here, and they just have to slide in a way. It can be a little tricky to put on, so have some patience. You will make it something like that, and of course it has to go the other way around. It's so think it will be there. Well, slide. I think the grease is actually doing really good in this case. It doesn't have to have a lot of resistance here in this case. And I will just set the mark up here to where my infinity mark is. No, it's not there. My mark was here. So I have to have it up here. So the front surface here is, what you say, flush. So now I can check the distance of each helicoid. We can just see in the notes here. The front, well, it has to just stay flush, so there's nothing to measure. But on the back, if my mark here is in line with the mark up here, where at infinity it should be something like 13.79. And I mean, it doesn't have to be precise, but it's something like that. It's something like that at the moment, because it depends on, okay, I have to set this right on to the, I mean, in line with the with my infinity mark here. So it will probably change a bit. Yeah, you can see here. So everything is actually lined up. So next thing I will do is actually give the give it some grease around this area here, especially on the back side here of this ring, and also the little guide pin here. And we can just do it for now. Doesn't have to be a lot. Give it a little, and we can also give it a little. It will all suck in. Oh, that was way too much. So it's not really a hard lens, I mean hard focus assembly to work on. So now I will just give it a thin layer. It will be spread around. As long as I move the focusing ring, and it will doesn't have to be a lot. So I think it will be fine. But since this ring here is on top of this here, the front helicoid, it will say it will go like this on here. There should also be something on that ring here. So I think it would be better to do it in this way. So put the, I mean, add the grease on the front, I mean the brass ring here, and just give it a little. We can always wipe it away with a something, and you see it doesn't have to be a lot, just a thin film on the brass. I don't know how they do it on Leica, but or other places, but I think this one will works pretty good. So now I can add the back helicoid system to the front. Yeah, we also have to, it's not necessary. This is only a stop pin. It's more on the on this gap here for the guide pin, which is this pin here. And since I already have added something, I can both have to sit on infinity. I mean this one here, and this one also set to infinity, which I have the mark here and the other mark here on this this ring here. So now I can put them together, and hopefully it should just slide in, and see how good it will be. Well, now I have greasy rubber grease, but I think it will be. It feels actually fine. Not much resistance to it. So now I can add the brass ring here and put it over, and with my actually not this but this homemade tool out of a compass, which I have bent each end, I can simply put it over here, and then going backward with the back, and it should just pop into the thread. Should say click somewhere. Click. So now I can add this to, I mean, just screw it in. So there. And they have to be tightened really good. You see, in the beginning I set a mark on this ring, and it has to line up with this mark, which is my infinity mark. So I really have to tighten it good, not too much. Oh, here. There. And really have to line up with those two marks up here. So that's all fine, and it's actually nice. Yeah, I think it will I think it will work. So now I can let's see, where's my infinity mark? It's here. So yeah, so now I can put the I can actually put the back here in the mount itself. It has a little hole here, here on the mount, so I can just put it in. It has the only function it has to mount the whole helicoid system to the mount, and then there is a locking screw down here in the. It will be in the bottom of the mount. So this one will just go in. It also have to be tightened good. Since I set a little mark here in the beginning, I think I will be able to turn it as much as possible, and then if it's possible, one should look down here into the screw hole, and it should be the full hole you can see, because then I can add my little set screw here with my 1.2 millimeter flathead screwdriver. So there, and I should be able to put that little tiny screw in here. Going a little backwards will sometimes help. It's not fully in. So Let's see if I can use the retaining in here and in that way get it to correct place. It's not a lot. So there. And of course it has to sit flush because, well, it will just look better. And yeah, now I can put in the index ring. Has to sit there. The gap is here for the rangefinder roller that goes in here. So first, I mean, the index mark has to sit here. So now I can add the 3 screws that hold the index ring, and in that way, with a little screwdriver, put it in here. So. And the next one. So you can see it's not that hard to actually do. I mean, the most important part here is actually all the measurements that we have to do before we take anything apart. I haven't seen any repair manual for this particular lens, so the only way I have my backup is with measure, and so there. I'm actually trying a new microphone system, wireless for this case. Yeah, maybe I will be coming back for that. Now, other things. Now I also need to have the lock here, which sits in here. So it has to slide really good. So I'll just add a little on the side, especially on this side. And again, it doesn't have to be a lot. So there. And there also have to be something in the middle here. And of course, yeah, it has to have on both sides of this locking tab. So there. I think it will make it. So let's see how it will have to sit. Have to sit like this. Yeah, of course. Has to sit correct. Something like that. With the pin going like this. Then we can slide it in here. And then that way spread the grease a little. I think it will be pretty good. Now, then we have to add the actual focusing ring onto here, and we will just set the helicoid system here to infinity, because then I will add the focusing ring, but remember the little spring here has to sit under here. It will say it has to sit in this gap here. Hopefully you can see it, because then this ring will come over and lock the focusing ring itself into place. So what I will do, I will align my infinity here, so, and then put in the spring here. Hopefully you can see it. It has to sit there, and then you press in focusing ring over, and you maybe have to press, yeah, you have to press in the button here, so it will come, the little pin in there, you maybe can see it. When I press in, the focusing ring comes in place. So I can set the infinity mark here, and the little lock pin in here under the hair is actually locked into place, so there shouldn't be any problem. Now I can add the retaining ring here, and with help from my little homemade tool here is 97, yeah, no, 39 millimeter, sorry, with two small pins here. So I can put it over here and hopefully screw in the retaining ring. And it has to sit tight, really good, because there is a little hole here, and this locking screw has to go into that hole, and in the same way lock the retaining ring, but also lock the screw, because it will go in, you will screw it into this retaining ring, and it will also go through the focusing ring. So let's tighten it really good, not too much. We have to check now and then. It's not there yet. A little more. It's not enough, I think. No, we're just missing a little. Yeah, it should be fine. Yeah, I think it's fine. So now I can add the lock pin here, lock set screw, and hopefully it will work. So, and there is only one set screw for this, so no problem with that. And this screw has to be screwed all the way in. And you might you screw it into it so it cannot go any further, and then you lock screw in the retaining ring even more, and then you try it again. It has to sit below the surface, because when you add the lens assembly, if you haven't screwed this set screw all the way in, it will interfere with the actual the aperture retaining ring in here, and you maybe cannot move it. So just remember that. So let's see. Whoa, it's fine. So we just have aligned the aperture index mark. It has to be in line with the index mark here, and then I can add the the locking ring, retaining ring for the back here, and then everything should be fine. So everything should go into place. So, and we just have to align it proper. Should be there. And I can just use my compass here. In this case. So my other camera, video camera, was not working as it should, so I tried with the Panasonic camera. So everything is aligned here, and I can just tighten it good. So, and now we are back as it was before. Wow, it's actually working pretty good, in my opinion. It has a good movement feeling, and the aperture ring is also working. Wow. So I think the in this case could be different in other cases, and I have ordering some new grease which I am really looking forward to try. So but in this case it yeah, I like this. So that's all for me. Hope you enjoy the content about this Summicron. Yeah, there will be more videos sooner. So thanks for watching. Bye bye.